All right. All right. Welcome back to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. It is currently 7:12. 7:12. Okay. Okay, Mike. Relax. Okay. Relax. It's currently 7:12 p.m. and today's date is the 5th of August 2025. How are you doing? How are you doing, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode. It is, it is, it is Tuesday. All right, it is Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. You know what time it is. All right. With that being said, I gotta say this. God is the greatest. Okay, God is the greatest. America is the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and God made it so. Don't forget, be nice in the comment section. And you are an American first before you are a Democrat or a Republican. So be nice. All right. Now, I also got to say, America is the land of freedom. And that is the title for today. So, of course, we're going to check out what's going on across the nation. Of course, Pam Bundy has reportedly taken major actions on Russia hoax. Okay, on Russia hoax. So let's check it out.
On Fox, sources tell us Attorney General Pam Bondi is opening a grand jury investigation into Russiagate. This after DNI Gabbard issued a criminal referral claiming former Obama officials manufactured intelligence linking President Trump to the Kremlin. So let's bring in Trey Gowdy. He's host of Sunday Night in America and author of the Sure to Be bestseller. It's a new novel. It's his first. It's called The Color of Death, and we look forward to that. Trey, here's what President Trump said on Truth Social. The truth always wins out. This is great news. God bless America. And a White House spokesman told the New York Post. This effort aims to provide the American people with the truth about the extent to which former government officials work to sabotage the Trump administration and undermine the will of the American people in a clear attempt to subvert our constitutional republic. Can you explain to people in your way, which is always so clear for us non-lawyers, what is happening here?
Well, it started with Hillary Clinton's email, and they needed a distraction, a diversion, so they concocted this idea that Trump was colluding with Russia. I mean, that happens in politics. What's different here, Dana, is the Clinton campaign was acting in concert with the CIA and the FBI and perhaps Barack Obama. So you have all these groups that we give immense power to that were actively trying to help one political candidate while hurting the other. And then when that failed, they put a cloud over the other one's presidency. I mean, he lost essentially his first term in office. So that's the politics of it. The legality of it is, was there a criminal conspiracy? And the only way to determine that is to investigate it using a grand jury. Look, Congress, they can send subpoenas and they get turned into paper airplanes and thrown back at you. That's not true of grand jury subpoenas. You have to comply with it. They can make witnesses come and testify or invoke a privilege. They can go, you fill in the blank kind of documents, phone records, text records, bank records. They don't have to ask for it. They go get it. So it is a powerful investigative tool. Whether or not there's a statute that fits within the statute of limitations remains to be seen.
Okay, so there is a saying that a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. Former administration officials aren't necessarily ham sandwiches. Obama, I guess, would have immunity as President Trump established during that Supreme Court ruling. But that doesn't mean that others couldn't, like the former CIA director, Brennan. So is the statute of limitations something that he can rely on if the grand jury does go forward and decides to push forward to a trial?
Well, it all depends, Dana. So let's imagine that you and I come up with a 371 conspiracy to defraud the United States. Can we find an act within the window within the statute of limitations? Can we find an act that was in furtherance of that conspiracy? You can argue that efforts to conceal, efforts to lie, but we have to find that act within the statute of limitations, and then you can bootstrap back and include things that happened even outside the statute of limitations. It is true a grand jury, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, but what is not true is you can't convict them. So getting an indictment, arresting someone is of no consequence if you can't get a conviction, and prosecutors know that. So the standard for charging someone is much lower than the standard for convicting. So DOJ, an indictment's not a win. A conviction is a win.
There's also another angle of this separate to this. There was the special counsel Jack Smith. And he was the one who wanted to go forward to try to prosecute former President Trump, now President Trump again. You can see how you could get a little confused. But this is what Senator Tom Cotton said about it last night on Hannity.
Anybody with two eyes to see could say that he was simply racing the clock to try to get these cases to a jury in Washington, D.C., to convict Donald Trump and imprison him before the American people could elect him. There's no logical explanation for those decisions other than a desire to rush these cases through the system. Jack Smith even acknowledged that in his final result, that he was driven in no small part by trying to reach a verdict before the election.
All right, Trey, can you explain that to us? What is the next step here?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, Tom Cotton is not known for some, right-wing MAGA conspiracy theorist. I mean, he's a pretty measured guy. So for him to make a referral, the allegation is that Jack Smith, as a federal prosecutor, engaged in political activity to benefit a candidate by trying to rush through these indictments and prosecutions. Now, Jack Smith's response will be, because I can't prosecute a sitting president, of course I was moving faster. Tom Cotton's response back would be, well, then why didn't you start sooner? Why did you do this during an election year and move at breakneck speed faster than you move against carjackers and kidnappers?
I mean, those are good questions. This is why you are Trey Gowdy and one of our very favorite guests. And I'm looking forward to The Color of Death is out later this month. Thank you, Trey.
Now this is getting the amount of coverage that it deserves. A lot of people are asking questions right now about the Russiagate situation. Now we're going to talk about more update on the Clintons' subpoena on Epstein's file. Check this out. It's getting spicy, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting spicy now.
But first, breaking tonight, the House committee investigating documents surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case is now going after some big names. The committee has issued subpoenas to former President Bill Clinton, former presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, and several top law enforcement officials. Also tonight, former Deputy Chief of Staff to then President Biden appeared voluntarily before the same House panel probing an alleged cover-up of President Biden's mental health. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni reports from Capitol Hill tonight on these two investigations. Good evening, Aisha.
Brett, good evening to you. You know, the Biden investigation really divided Democrats and Republicans. But Republicans now say this fresh Epstein probe is such a bipartisan effort that even the Clintons may not be able to escape it. Tonight, former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton are facing congressional subpoenas to testify in person about Jeffrey Epstein. The House Oversight Committee summoning the Clintons and 8 former FBI directors and attorneys general spanning from the Bush era to the Biden White House. The historic move comes as pressure grows on Republicans and the Trump administration to release the Epstein files, and as President Trump points his finger away from himself.
By the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times.
Clinton has denied that, but Oversight Chairman James Comer tells Fox he's got questions.
Well, were you ever at Epstein Island? How many times did you go to Epstein Island? What was your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
No former president has ever come to the Hill for a deposition, but Comer says the Clintons will have a hard time dodging this one since the left wants answers too. Last week, 4 Democrats on an oversight panel voted with 3 Republicans to subpoena the Justice Department for the Epstein files. Democrats are looking for one name.
Donald Trump is clearly going to do everything that he can to minimize the impact to him. but yet he's involved in the cover-up, and we believe Republicans are helping in that right now.
That investigation gets underway as another pushes ahead. Mr. Reed, did you think that the president was competent to serve? Former Biden Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Bruce Reed sitting in for his closed-door interview today over the alleged cover-up of President Biden's decline. Reed was part of a small group of decision-makers who hid Biden, according to the book Original Sin. Advisors who have all, so far, defended Biden's competency to be the commander-in-chief. And Brett, tonight, a source familiar with Reed's deposition tells us that he basically defended the former president, blamed his poor debate performance on his stutter, and said the White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who pled the fifth during his deposition, basically dismissed any cognitive tests as merely meaningless. The next person that is set to appear before the committee is Senior Communications Advisor Anita Dunn this Thursday. Brett.
Aisha, back on the Epstein case, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell trying to stop the DOJ from releasing the grand jury transcripts in her case.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the Trump administration is trying to make this public to show the base and to show people out there that they are taking this case very seriously. But Maxwell's lawyer essentially filed a motion today opposing those files from being released because she is appealing her case all the way to the Supreme Court. Her team writes this: Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Ghislaine Maxwell is not. Whatever interest the public may have in Epstein, that interest cannot justify a broad intrusion into grand jury secrecy. Now, I will say, though, it's noteworthy that Epstein victim Annie Farmer says that she does want these transcripts released as long as the victims' names, of course, are redacted. Brett?
Aisha Hasni live on Capitol Hill. Aisha, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
A lot is going on, man. A lot is going on, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Let's go. Let's go.
Anything I do is financed by me, so in other words, contributed. Just like my salary is contributed.
Think Joe Biden could ever do that? President Trump showing up on the White House roof, doing a home inspection on the renovation projects he's got in the pipeline.
Oh, man.
47 is
this man right here, bro. Like, where are you talking from, sir? What are you doing? Where are you? Where is he talking from? Sir, the president of the United States. Where is he? He's on the roof. He's on the roof. Everybody look up there. He's on the roof.
Just like my salary is contributed.
Think Joe Biden could ever do that? President Trump showing up on the White House roof, doing a home inspection on the renovation projects he's got in the pipeline. 47 is a living metaphor for how he towers over the Democrats, who are currently screaming how the roof's on fire, hiding out in blue states during a gerrymander battle royale in Texas that could give the GOP 5 new seats, which 47 says he's earned.
California's gerrymandered. We should have many more seats in Congress in California. It's all gerrymandered. And we have an opportunity in Texas to pick up 5 seats. We have a really good governor, and we have good people in Texas. And I won Texas. I got the highest vote in the history of Texas, as you probably know. And we are entitled to 5 more seats.
Texas officials still on the hunt for the 51 derelict Dems, with Senator John Cornyn calling on the FBI to round them up. These runaway Democrats think they're Bonnie and Clyde, but the only problem? Their Tommy guns are loaded with wimpy words.
Uh-oh.
This is a new Democratic Party. We're bringing a knife to a knife fight.
We need to get to fair rules across the nation and not have Democrats showing up with a butter knife to a gunfight.
We have shown up to a gunfight with nothing but good intentions and dull knives.
Our sleeves are rolled up, and we're ready to take this fight. We are ready to fight fire with fire.
But we're not running away. We're running into the fight.
We're asking for help. Maybe just as they did back in the days of the Alamo.
Tyrus, have you ever been in a knife fight?
Well, I believe the nomenclature he was trying to say was you bring a gun to a knife fight. You don't bring a knife to a knife fight. So you shouldn't say knife fight either. None of these. Is anyone fearing this? Is there anyone going, oh, you hear what they're saying over there? They're out of control. Was there a huge mob outside cheering for this? Do your job. You're elected The people made their choice. The people voted the numbers they did. You were only losing, you had 79%, you're only going down to 74%. It's not even a big change. This is just what happens when you have no plan. You can't say this is the brand new party when it's the same deflated individuals that it's always been. It's embarrassing. And even covering it, it's like this is why kids who act weird get wedgies. This is why bullies sometimes get justified, because this behavior, we're going to fight, but none of them look like in fighting shape. It's as embarrassing as Swalwell when he was talking about bench pressing people. I'm your Huckleberry, I'll play with you. But he doesn't want to do that. They always disappear. They just say things. But who is cheering for this? Who is going, man, I am so excited. Thank you guys for leaving your job. Any other job, you'd be fired. I was like, I don't want to come in today because Dana's picking on my legs today, so I'm not going to come in. They'd replace somebody, and then they wouldn't ask me to come on the show again. When are we going to start seeing politicians who refuse to do their jobs have actual consequences?
How is this fight going for the Democrats, Dana? Are they winning the message war? Are they winning anything?
They are not, and we also know how this is going to end. It's going to end the same way it did in 2021 when they fled to Washington, D.C., and this is the same thing. Like, do they really think that they're going to stay in Pritzker's hotels and eating continental breakfast for the rest of their lives? I mean, they left. I don't think that people have a lot of sympathy for people who don't stand up and go and do their job. I can understand that they feel like this is wrong. I understand that there are other people. Ari Fleischer had some good points today. He was like, why don't we just follow the rules and everybody do it at the same time? That said, in Massachusetts, Dems are 9 for 9 on congressional seats. Kamala didn't win 100% of the vote. In California, they're pushing a plan that would leave Republicans with just 4 of 52 seats if Texas does this, but they're probably going to do it anyway. And this is from the same crowd who says they want to pack the court and they want to blow up the filibuster in the Senate. And then they say that Texas redistricting would end democracy. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for them. But I also would say from a calm standpoint, it's clear that the bat signal from the focus groups is the Democrats want them to fight.
Yeah.
If you look at that montage, everyone has to say the word fight. They had knife fight. They had the fight. They had fight, fight, fight. But what they're doing, once again, with the tactic is they're raising the bar that they can't clear, because they're going to have to come back. They don't have the numbers. So they are fighting with basically a losing hand, but they're doubling down on it. So I think that doesn't look too good for them. And I also don't know if this was entirely necessary. I do think President Trump is actually in very good position to keep a hold of the House and the Senate in 2026.
Dana, did you just
say I did not say it.
Wave.
I said he is likely to keep it.
Okay.
And I know that the margins are small, but I don't think that this was totally necessary.
Wow. Dana kind of said red wave. That's what I heard. Harold, it's good to have you back around the table.
Glad to be back.
How do you think the Dems are doing when they are fighting but also running?
So,
fighting and running,
let me start with this. Again, thank you for saying it's good to have me back, because I'm glad to be back. What the president and what the president's encouraging the Texas legislature to do is wrong. They should not do it. Just because you have the power to do something doesn't mean, or you have the ability to do something doesn't mean you should do it. Tyrus, when he walks in the studio, could beat me with the wave of a hand. I'm glad he doesn't do that, and he could do the same
I love
with
you like
you.
a brother.
I know you do,
that,
but the fact you wouldn't do that to the smallest guy.
I would duck.
So here you are. Every 10 years, states have the right. Every state does this. They wait for the census data to come in because we have a fixed number of members of Congress, 435. It used to be each district was roughly 450 to 550,000 people. It's grown now to almost 1 million, depending on some districts, because of the population movement around our country. So for Texas to do this, I think is just wrong. And the reaction that the Texas Democrats have is a reaction to something that is simply wrong. Now, the California governor, the Illinois governor, and the New York governor, who are all Democrats, are saying we're going to counter this. I kind of don't blame them. I don't like the tit for tat, but if they unilaterally disarm, because President Trump asserts authority and control, and no one questions him. If we started this conversation saying this is probably the wrong thing to do, now this is not the right thing to do what Democrats are doing, but we've accepted that what Texas is doing at the urging of President Trump, I think is just the wrong thing. Now, two, I don't think Dana was saying red wave come 2026. What Dana is saying, though, would go against tradition, because normally the president in his first term, and this is the second term for the president, but it's kind of a midterm election, although the second term, the party in office in the White House generally does not fare well, Democrat or Republican. This is not an assault or an insult at President Trump in any way whatsoever. So when you see a president do something like this, urging Texas to do this, this is not, in my estimation, a position of strength or confidence being exerted by or imparted by President Trump, who really, in my mind, I've said before, is the greatest political athlete I've seen in politics in my lifetime. And maybe this is a great athletic move to urge, knowing that he's not in a great position come next year, that his party's not in a great position, to try to not pick the legislators, but pick the voters who will then pick the legislators. And if you do that, Mr. President, you're going to hear Democrats like me who are really not, I'm not a partisan. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not a partisan. I'm going to encourage Democrats in these other states to look at ways to counter what you guys are going to do in Texas, because it's not right. And anyone who's calling balls and strikes knows this is not the right way to do what you're trying to get accomplished.
So, Emily, the president just took a question after his announcement about the Olympics, and he was asked about the FBI going to get these guys. And he said, if they have to do it, they have to do it. Do you think it's justified for the FBI to join the Texas posse and apprehend the fleabaggers?
Well, I think it plays into the fact that this has been, the drama has been maximized by these Texas Democrats, but on the national scale. But when you look inside the borders of Texas, they are the voters whose opinion matters more than the rest of the country in this particular fight. I think they see this with disgust. To your point, they don't have the luxury of deciding not to go to work tomorrow, of going to hide out at their buddy's restaurant, at their buddy's hotel, and not actually go out and earn food for their families. Because this entire thing is exactly what, I mean, it's staged drama, right? It's optics rich and enforcement thin. And so at the end of the day, these guys are going to come back and they have nationalized what is a Texas policy fight. The Supreme Court has held that the courts that oversee gerrymandering are the state court levels. And what matters, yes, we're talking about national Congress, but it's a Texas policy argument. So here what we're seeing is these state partisans that have now fled to this national level, right? And they're getting applause on cable television. But where it matters, which is within the Texas borders, they're looking at this with a disgust. And I think at the end of the day, too, that the GOP has on their side a very disciplined surgical approach. And when you have that rhetoric, we're going to bring a knife to a knife fight, and this is war, and this is this extraordinary tactic. Well, everyone is seeing, A, you're engaging in the theater, and B, what's actually working, which will be upheld in the courts, is a very non-race-based, but a partisan-based gerrymandering that actually reflects accurately. So when Gavin Newsom threatens, I'm going to come back fire with fire and do it even worse, that won't be upheld. Race isn't upheld, but partisan gerrymandering is. So
what Gavin Newsom needs to do is make sure he has water in his fire hydrant. Let's start from there, okay? Here we go. More on the 5.
The Democrats are getting body slammed again by their voters. Only a measly 23% could muster up anything nice to say about their own party. Me, I call it what it is, a 5-alarm dumpster fire. But hold on, it's about to get messier, because some libs think pushing socialism is going to win them back the crowd. Liz Warren recently had a powwow with Zoran the commie.
Is this what the party should look like?
Yes. You bet. The Democratic Party needs to stand up and be clear. We are the party that fights for affordability for working families. That means child care. That means housing. It means health care. It means making this country work better for the working people who make this country work.
All right, last question.
I get a little excited about this.
Well, I got a little excited about this. 47 couldn't resist taking a shot at Pocahontas.
I watched this lunatic, Pocahontas. She's a total lunatic. I don't know what she's on. She's all jumping up and down like I've never seen anything like it, talking about supporting the communist mayor. And he's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist mayor. This is a communist. If you look at any of his policies and go back 6 months, you don't even have to go back further than that. So they want to put a communist in New York. Now, the good news is we have a lot of power over that because we're the ones with the money. We send the money. We don't send the money.
Harold, I'm going to go to you first because I consider you a traditional middle-of-the-road Democrat. You call it like it is. Is the party changing to the socialism or communism? Is it becoming a bigger sect or is it just still smaller?
So it's a good question. And, the Democrats, I live in New York City, nominated, I didn't nominate, but nominated a guy who was an avowed socialist to be the Democratic nominee. So there's an argument that you can make a credible argument that the party, at least in the biggest city in the country and the most important city in the world, has done that. But it's interesting. If you look at Democratic leaders across the city, Mr. Mandami can't muster a lot of endorsement. So he had to bring in a senator from Massachusetts, from Boston, to emphatically and emotionally say why she's for him. I think Democrats in the city, the jury's still out, proverbially. I think as we get towards Labor Day, and I think Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo have to make a decision who's the strongest candidate. I think both of them in the race probably neither of them are able to defeat Mr. Mandami if that's the case. I said a few weeks ago, the guy, Mr. Mandami, won the nomination. I wanted to hear some of his ideas. I've not been impressed by the ideas. When you talk about police efforts in our city and public safety efforts,
which is down significally.
Right, but no doubt about it. But when you have a killing, you have a few people killed at a building here in Midtown, and you can't say, hey, I made a mistake. I had some passion. I was behind me as I talked about certain things, and I've changed my mind. We should keep these elite units. We're not going to defund the police. In fact, I'm going to keep young Miss Tish as my police chief because we have to keep our city safe. Then to bring in Ms. Warren, I don't hear any answers from them, Tyrus. I don't hear anything about where are the best practices in the country on education. Dana and I talk about this a lot. You talk about the state of Mississippi has done some amazing things in early childhood and K through 12 education. Why not talk about adopting that? Where are we doing great things fighting crime as opposed to defunding the police? This is what Democrats, the socialist wing of our party, have to get to. I'm not there. I'm not a socialist. I am right in the middle, and I always try to offer answers. The only answer I hear them saying is take, and give. This is America. We want to give people, empower people, give people an education and an opportunity, empower people with that, then let people flourish as Americans. That's not what this message is, and that's what scares me about his candidacy.
Jesse, you're an extremely popular person. At any time in your life, do you think you ever were around 23% popular with your peers?
With my peers?
Yeah.
There was a time.
23%? Yeah, maybe I was like 22 years old. It's not a great semester.
Right.
But I bounced back.
You did bounce because you were in the high 90s now.
Right. Now I'm in the high 90s and I'm living the dream. But when Liz talks about affordability, you got to look at what this country used to be. For most of the last century, a dad could have one job, could have a house, his wife could take care of the kids at home. And then we sent all the jobs overseas right at the same time all the wives started joining the workforce. And then we started spending gazillion dollars and bailing things out and going to war. And then we wondered why everything became so expensive. Childcare is really expensive because everybody wants to send their kids to childcare because both parents are working. So the demand is through the roof. That's why it's expensive, because wages have flattened out, but demand for childcare has gone bonkers. So the solution is not a new government program. Dana, this is where you hold my hand.
I am really hesitant about this one, but let's go.
Why should I, or anyone at this table, pay to raise another person's child? Why should we pay to raise another kid who's 3 years old? Shouldn't the mother raise that child in those formative years, or the father figure it out? I know it's very expensive, but that doesn't mean you just have to take from other people. And do you really want the government to raise your child? The government just lost 300,000 children. You want a government-run daycare after they just lost 300,000 children? And talk about the quality of the people they're going to be working at the government-run daycare. This is not the best and brightest. So this is not what we want. Hillary Clinton says it takes a village. Okay, well, what about the grandparents or the parents? What about the college girls who are home for the summer that can help out around the house? What about the neighbor? What about maybe you leave Manhattan because it's too expensive to pay for child care here?
We shall overcome.
We shall overcome.
You know, Emily, what's funny is I was afraid to ask him about the Native American and African American thing, and I should have just went there. But
that would have been worse.
Yeah, it probably would have been worse. Me and Harold probably would have left. Emily, why is it that someone like Rachel Dolezal, who pretended to was completely canceled, off the planet, was considered one of the worst human beings, and both of these individuals pretended to be, in his case, African American, in her case, Native American, to take opportunities away from African Americans and Native Americans to get jobs and opportunities? How is that why are they even allowed to run for things knowing they did one of the most racist things you could do to somebody?
Somehow they slid through the cancellation machine of the left to continue worming their way into these elected official positions. Look, as a New Yorker, I find it just sort of surprising, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth that Liz Warren is coming in here and sort of nationalizing the mayoral race. She obviously doesn't understand economics or anything about New York City, but from where I sit, we've lost 1 million people, and that's just from the consensus in 2020, and from April 2020, we lost 1 million people, we lost a congressional seat, and you know how much money we lost as a state? We lost $14.1 billion in just 1 year, from 2021 to 2022. So when she says, oh yeah, just tax the rich, as if that's going to pay for everything, when that slim margin of wealthy people here who have borne the brunt totally disproportionately for taxes are fleeing yet again, the businesses have fled Midtown. When you come to visit our studios, you see in Midtown how many empty windows there still are, how many mom and pop shops and small restaurants and single owner occupant businesses are no longer.
And bars, great bars.
Most important.
Closing at 10.
There you go.
In New York.
So what's going to bear the brunt are those lower income people Mamdani claims to represent. Those are the ones that are going to be stuck here paying for his communism.
Dana, it's hilarious to me when a millionaire, 100 millionaire, says things like, quote, are you worried that billionaires are going hungry? That was one of Warren's comments. But she's going all in for him, but I'm noticing a lot of Democrats are kind of pumping their brakes a little bit, like Hochul, Jeffries, Schumer, Gillibrand. They're all trading. Cory Booker basically said, I'm busy. I got stuff going on in New Jersey. Do you think that's a positive sign?
Okay, I think this is what the sign is. The sign is she wants to back a winner, and she also likes to draft off of other people's popularity. So she's been persona non grata for a while, right? Nobody was asking her to come do any events in 2024 on the campaign trail. So now Kamala Harris is out of the picture, thinks, okay, I'm back in. But the big problem is that Democrats' base is hugely animated by small dollar donations and this left-wing dark money big donations and the social media echo chamber that makes them go so far to the left. In 2020, the Democrats raised their hand for decriminalizing illegal immigration, free health care for illegals, trans surgeries, and more. And then Biden gets in there, and the first chief of staff, Ron Klain, says, let's throw in with the progressives. And they push the country so far left. So, of course, the rebound is President Trump. And now they're having to pay for it. And we're all going to have to pay for it. But also, I think it was very frustrating to listen to her say that, is that she says, as a Democrat, we're the party that cares about the people. We're the ones that are going to provide the health care. And we're the what evidence is there that they did any of that?
None.
They didn't. And especially on K through 12 education, they have a big problem. However, I'll end with this. If Mamdani wins in New York, but Abigail Spanberger wins the governorship in Virginia, that's two very different Democrats. And who will have the big mo? It won't be Spanberger.
Or Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, too.
And either way, the bars, Jesse, still suffer. The bars.
Do you guys think that Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York? I think if it happens, it is probably going to be one of the best things that happened to New York, because now the governor position would most likely go to the Republican Party, because everybody would be wide awake and see that it is absolute trash to have voted for Mamdani. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. More on the 5. Let's go.
America First will get a load of this. A Democratic lawmaker is apparently proud to admit that she's putting her country last. Members of the squad and several House Democrats taking shots at the U.S. during a conference in Mexico City. But Illinois Representative Delia Ramirez is causing the most controversy. She said this.
I want to finish by saying a few words in Spanish because I am a Guatemalan with much pride before I am an American.
Representative Ramirez later tried to clean up that statement by saying this: only those who believe America should not include the children of immigrants or be diverse would attack me. Honoring my Guatemalan ancestry only strengthens my commitment to America. So the White House weighing in, saying that these Democrats' comments are despicable and underscore their commitment to putting Americans last. I always say, Emily, that Peter, my husband, is British by birth, but American by choice. And he can be proud of Britain, though he's not at the moment. But you can be, but he chose to be an American, and she's a member of Congress.
That's the whole point. Messages matter. When my grandfather immigrated here, he had to renounce his citizenship to Italy to become an American citizen. And then he framed and hung his United States citizenship certificate on the walls in their home for the rest of his life. And I was thinking about that when I saw this segment. I thought, you know what, the message that one man, one immigrant sent, how proud he was to be a U.S. citizen, how proud he was to be here. Why can't an elected official have that same pride, even a little bit of that, when you are on the world stage? It sends a really bad message.
What do you think about this?
I think we need to believe them for who they are. Yeah. It's very popular to say, I hate America, because this is the only place in the world you can do that. You know, and then they try to clean it up. She didn't say that I'm a Guatemalan American, right? You know, right. and I love my heritage and I love my country. If you're a Guatemalan first, don't they have government jobs over there? Run over there. Why do you want to serve for a country you don't like? Like this, because there's never consequences for being able to say what you say things. And who are you preaching that to? Like, what person, was there a standing ovation after they say these speeches? They say things because they want, this is the beautiful thing about America, but it's also the ugly thing, is that you can have fake trauma. You can have virtue signaling oppression. You live in the greatest country in the world, so you can bash it all you want. Why? Because it's the greatest country in the world. She didn't come back to no job. She didn't step off a plane and ICE was waiting for her going, oh no, we're sending you back. She'll be allowed to do it. And she doesn't even have the courage or if you're going to say something, stand by it. Don't try to clean it up and say, I'm more of American because I said that. Right. It's like this whole thing, and as a minority, it's one of the most disgusting things to see and I'm not Hispanic, but whenever I see another minority trash the country that they benefit from so well, just to get points to do it. Because if they told her she had to leave tomorrow, she'd be kicking and screaming, not packing her bags going, guess what, guys, we're going to Guatemala.
That's a great point. And I do think that the spin after the fact, Jesse, was hard to swallow.
Well, as a minority, I also agree with Tyrus.
Thank you.
And,
I'm not holding your hand on that one.
And I take offense at the word when she says domination. Because great nations, empires, the British, the French, great empires, have always sought to seek advantages economically and militarily. It just so happens that because of the geography of Guatemala, they were never able to project power outside of their own borders. Sadly for them. That doesn't mean that they're not a good country. It doesn't mean she shouldn't be proud of her country. Of course she should be proud of Guatemala. They have the best coffee around, and we're going to have to be buying a lot of it because of the tariffs on Brazil. So get used to it. The Mayan Empire was absolutely spectacular. They dominated the entire region. A little brutal. We don't need to get into the details, but they were a very, very wealthy and academically advanced country. The Irish, the Germans, and the Italians were very proud of where they came from. But when they got here, they were also proud to be here. And they tried to assimilate. And as proud as they were of their countries that they originated from, they didn't denigrate the country they arrived in. And that's my problem. She's denigrating the country she's now living in and benefiting greatly from. So I think she should acknowledge that, yes, the United States has done some bad things, but it's also the greatest force of good in world history. No other country is as great as the United States. And she should acknowledge that. And if she doesn't, I'm calling home and she's going home.
Harold, the melting pot doesn't work if it's just oil and water and everyone lives separately in their own little pockets.
Agree. I could not agree more with Tyrus. and Jesse. The stories we have today, this was the most disturbing for me. I said something at the outset in the first segment that I want to retract. I said that Mr. Mandami ran as a socialist, he's a Democrat. These people are not Democrats. Democrats from the standpoint of political parties. Listening to this legislator from Illinois, you took an oath of office to serve in the United States Congress. Tyrus is right. If you feel so strong, and I have no issue or problem, matter of fact, I have no even really emotional response to you wanting to be Guatemalan first, but why not go back to Guatemala and fix the country as opposed to coming here? You chose to come to the country, and we'd happily let you go if you want to go, because there's a long line to come in.
No, she ain't
going. Love our
going.
country, whose stories
You know she
resemble
ain't
a
going.
lot of the instincts that have been talked about around the table. It's amazing to me. You look at Illinois and you look at some of these places, Massachusetts and New York, where some of the progressives, the socialists serve in Congress. The story out today, we have more than 200,000 jobs in this country open today in the welding, electrician, and HVAC categories and spaces. People making hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We're not talking about any of that. The president passed the big, beautiful bill. I was opposed to it. I don't see or hear any of these people offering legislation or ideas to build on his success or reverse what he's trying to do and make life better for the very people they serve. I was offended by watching her. It moved me in a way that I hadn't been moved watching a politician speak, not in English, and to say, she could say whatever she wanted to say about her heritage, but to talk bad about the country that she not only is a citizen of, but serves in our national legislature. Shame on that Congresswoman. And I retract what I said. Mr. Mandami's not a Democrat. He's a socialist. Yep. And as a Democrat, I don't accept that as part of my party.
President Trump says he's a communist. You want to take socialists and raise it to
I'll
communist?
say communist, pure and simple.
He says he's a socialist.
All right. But
Even Democrat don't buy Democrat BS right now. It's getting too out of line. What are you doing? You came to the United States. The United States was so kind to you and your family, and they gave you citizenship. Next thing you do, you try to trash a gorgeous, beautiful, blessed country that gave you an opportunity. What in the world is going on with this Democrat, ladies and gentlemen? All right, here we go. Elizabeth.
City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani just got a ringing endorsement from Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Ladies and gentlemen.
When someone stands up and says, I will lead this city by making it more affordable, and here are my plans, real plans to deliver on childcare, plans to deliver on housing. That is the Democratic message.
Is this what the party should look like? The Democratic Party moving forward?
You bet. The Democratic Party needs to stand up and be clear. We are the party that fights for affordability for working families.
All right, Massachusetts Republican Party Chair Amy Carnevale joins me now. Amy, good morning to you. So she is pushing to take Zoran Mamdani's policies national. If that happens, what does the country look like?
Well, I'll tell you, I think this says more about the Democratic Party than it does Mamdani. It's clearly Elizabeth Warren, a three-term senator in the U.S. Senate, has now admitted that this is the future of the Democratic Party, and it is socialism. We have seen under the Trump administration, Donald Trump actually working and delivering for working Americans, but the Democratic Party is not allied with working Americans. They are now allied with the far left progressive elite. And Elizabeth Warren represents that faction of the party, and now she has admitted that the future of the Democratic Party is socialism.
Amy, as the Republican Party chair in Massachusetts, you know a lot about how the money works when it comes to elections. So realistically speaking, if Zoran Mamdani does win the mayoral race in New York City, and he is ahead right now, what does that mean for other socialist candidates in other races? If he wins, does that mean that donors start paying more attention to other socialist candidates, put money into their campaigns to potentially further their political futures?
Yeah, so certainly we've seen the Democratic Party in the past supported by ultra wealthy Democrat progressive individuals, and I think we'll see more of that. A certain number of individuals with unlimited wealth have supported Democratic campaigns. And if we see Mamdani, in fact, elected, and as you said, he is ahead in the polls, and supported by individuals like Senator Warren, who's been in the Senate a long time, claims to represent the leadership of the Democratic Party, we'll see more wealthy Democrats support these campaigns. And that will then be the future of the Democratic Party. And as a Republican leader, I say bring it on, because I think the contrast could not be more clear.
Well, you say that the ultra-wealthy are supporting the progressive candidates. Elizabeth Warren, writing in an op-ed, says this: there are some billionaires and Wall Street CEOs who can't stand the idea of a mayor who wants them to pay their fair share to create a city that everyone can afford. So the billionaires are dumping millions and millions of dollars into the race, backing either of the two deeply flawed candidates, meaning Cuomo and Mayor Adams. What do you think about those comments from Elizabeth Warren, the senator in your state?
Yeah, Senator Warren is just wrong. She's been singing this from the same play sheet since she ran for president, unsuccessfully, I might add. She claims to represent the working class, but nothing could be further from the truth. She is not accessible to citizens in Massachusetts. She has a record of representing this far left elite. She is not there for the citizens. And we have seen Donald Trump remake the map in terms
Pocahontas. All right, here we go.
And I don't think you guys are helping your cases by going to liberal safe havens. It's kind of making the point that us Texans often make, is that if you like these liberal policies, if you want safe harbor there, then just stay there. Don't represent the areas in Texas. We see in New York and California, they've already lost 2 congressional seats to Texas because of their liberal policies. And so the fact is, we passed laws saying that they couldn't use campaign finance money. They couldn't use private money as well, that they funneled through the political campaigns. And now they're going all the way to Illinois because the governor is rich there.
Yeah, they're running away from what they're doing down in Texas. They were all voted in to pass laws, and this includes laws for the flood victims too. And so they're preventing voting on that so that these families who were flooded can get help. But instead, they leave the state to avoid having to vote on this because the House requires in Texas 100 members be present to conduct business. So they stand to lose 5 Democratic congressional seats. They're not happy about it, so they left so they don't have to vote on this.
It is kind of comical to listen to, in addition to her ridiculous accent, Kathy Hochul threatening to do the same thing. Well, it gets more exactly. They've already done
Gavin Newsom too.
They've already squeezed all the blood out of that stone they're going to get.
Correct.
And if you think you can get another Democrat seat at it, have at it. You can try it again. But Democrats pretty much invented the whole concept of gerrymandering, and they've mastered it better than anybody. So you can keep trying. I don't think it's going to work. Needless to say, Jasmine Crockett down in Texas is a little bit concerned about it because if the maps get redrawn, she could wind up getting drawn out of her district.
Now, let me say, this governor talks a lot of noise, and I made sure that I put up my warrant from 4 years ago to make it plain that they talk a lot of noise, but these guys are weak. That's why they're over here trying to bully people. Bullies are always weak. The difference is they expect Democrats to kind of be the nice guys that we are. They expect us to take the punch and say thank you. Well, I am here to tell you, not only are we going to punch back, but we're about to beat you down. That's right. Yeah. We are going to win. They understand the importance of standing for what democracy is and making sure that it does not fall by the wayside. They understand that we have a Timmu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of the United States.
Like, what does that even mean, a Timmu Hitler? I mean, they always go low.
Like a cheap knockoff?
And it's like it's losing its sting because they've classified everything that Republicans do as Hitler-like. I would just say Eddie Bernice Johnson was a moderate in Texas. She represented that district very well. I grew up in that district. And she was known to work with Republicans. Mm-hmm. That's why her seat was always protected, because they were able to do business with her. Jasmine Crockett is just not that person. And you are going to lose your seat because the seat should have been gone. It should have went to the Republicans a long time ago. But because Eddie Bernice Johnson was, as they said, the gentlewoman from Texas, She kept her seat, and she got the business for her district while maintaining being a Democrat as well.
We've heard, Lawrence, elections have consequences, and they have the majority. Republicans have the majority in Texas. They are allowed to do this. And when you're a Democrat and you're elected to your seat, you shouldn't flee your state so you don't have to face business in your state. But this is not the first time they've done it. Remember, they did it back in 2021 when Republicans said, we don't want drive-through voting. We need to restrict that. Remember, they fled. They went to D.C. and they had that case of Miller Lite on the bus with them.
Yeah.
They came back and they ended up having to vote, and the governor passed the law.
And I think it's so interesting. If you want to know what somebody really cares about, what do they fight for? This is what they fight for. They don't fight about the fact that you had an invasion at the border. They don't fight about rising crime rates. They don't fight about people losing their jobs because of an economy or anything like that. What do they fight about? They fight. When do they saddle up and ride to Illinois with a six-pack of beer? It's when their power is threatened. And I think it completely defines the Democrat Party today. That's all they have.
Well, they also don't understand the voters as well. Like, if you look at the Valley, you look at different parts of Texas, the Republicans surge in support with Latinos, with Asians, with black voters as well, because the Democrats weren't focused on the issues that matter to them. And so when you look at the map now, at some point it was going to be redrawn anyway, just by the demographics there. I went through this during the show yesterday. They've been saying for years that Texas is going blue. It's absolutely not going blue. And the voters showed you that message in the last election.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I mean,
so they had beer in the van or the bus. Typical Democrat, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
Governor Greg Abbott is now calling for the arrest of more than 50 Texas Democrats who fled their state, hoping to block redistricting efforts. Those Democrats are now declaring an all-out war against the new map, preventing a vote that would give Republicans up to 5 additional seats in Congress. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno, and here with my co-host, Harris Faulkner. Also joining us today, Ainsley Earhart, Fox & Friends co-host, Dr. Nicole Saphier, Fox News contributor and board-certified physician, and Joey Jones, Fox News contributor, retired U.S. Marine bomb tech, and New York Times best-selling author of Behind the Badge. Now, Governor Abbott is threatening those Dems with the risk of daily fines, among other severe consequences, like felony charges and removal from office. At stake here is control of Congress. The effort to redraw the congressional map in Texas could give Republicans up to 5 seats, giving the GOP an advantage in next year's midterms. Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows is now signing civil arrest warrants, citing dereliction of duty after dozens skipped off to blue states. But those Dems aren't backing down. Here's a few of them during a press conference in Illinois last hour. Watch.
Right now, there's folks saying that we walked out. And I think everyone behind me will say, we're standing up. And as Texans would say, we're standing tall.
My Republican colleagues in Texas, you wrong for this. You wrong for this. You already have the governor's office. You're the majority in the Senate, the majority in the House. What more do you want?
What we see here happening in Illinois is the fight for our democracy, is the fight for America. And the people standing here today are on the front lines of that fight. These are the fighters for our democracy.
Want it all.
And while Democrats across the country are calling foul over the redistricting efforts in Texas, President Trump is pointing out the hypocrisy.
Those blue states that you're talking about. Somebody gave a good example. In Massachusetts, I think 41% of the vote. It's a very, blue state. And yet it's got 100% of Congress, 100%. Did you notice they go to Illinois for safety? But that's all gerrymandered. California's gerrymandered. We should have many more seats in Congress in California. It's all gerrymandered. And we have an opportunity in Texas to pick up 5 seats.
Joey, you and I chatted about this last night, and it's sort of hard to hear someone saying that there's a threat to democracy happening when they are totally abandoning their position of the constitutional duty to actually legislate representing the will of the people.
Yeah, no matter what you make of this, there's no moral authority to be stood on by the Democrats here. I think there are good arguments for and against the redistricting. I think it was Ken Paxton that was just on with Harris and made a great argument I hadn't heard yet about a little bit more detail about the movement of folks within the state and why they felt like it was necessary. I think President Trump's just embracing the idea of, hey, I found a way to get 5 more seats and I'm going to take it. And I appreciate that. That's honesty. So is there an argument against that Democrats can make? Sure. But are they guilty of the same sin? Of course they are. And that's the problem here is that I don't know that I would be issuing arrest warrants. I think I would let these Democrats kind of seal their own fate, write their own fate. I mean, you know, if I'm Greg Abbott, I guess maybe you're doing it because you actually want to get the vote in and that actually matters. But as far as the PR campaign of it, it's a lot easier to kind of just sit back and point at the Democrats and say, see who represents you. These are the people that run away from this job.
Right. And Ainsley, so to that point, they tried doing this in 2021 and failed as well. One of the Texas Democrats, Ann Johnson, yesterday talked about how this was an extraordinary feat. Right? We only do this if we must. And then when pointed out, well, you did it in 2021 and it didn't work, she sort of had nothing to say, only other than, well, you can either choose to serve Texans or choose to serve President Trump. But is this the best way to serve Texas?
It's really just political theater because every state does this. Kathy Hochul, who's now saying, oh, we're going to, what was her quote? We're going to fight fire with fire. And Gavin Newsom said the same thing. Kathy Hochul just did this in this very state 2 years ago. It's called redistricting. And elections have consequences. If you don't like it, then put someone else in office. But the people who are leaders, who are in charge, mainly Republicans in the state of Texas, this is what they want. And they have every right to do this. They do it in Democratic states as well. But these are flood victims that are not getting their legislation, not getting their money. These are people who could property tax relief for the state of Texas. These are elected officials that ran away from their job, and this is what's at stake here. But they will have to come back. In 2021, remember they went to Washington, they put the case of Miller Lite on the bus with them, and they headed for Washington. They had to come back.
And they came back with COVID.
They did. And the bill passed, and the governor signed it into law. So they're going to have to come back and deal with this.
Right. So that's the thing. When they say, well, this is fighting fire with fire, it's not, right? When some of the valid arguments talk about voter turnout, well, the gerrymandering is sort of seizing on low voter turnout populations in part. Well, then why wouldn't the efforting be to actually foment registration and voting tendencies? Why aren't they there with their sleeves up amongst Texans instead of flitting around for
because
TikTok?
Well,
it is, as Ainsley just pointed out, a lot of this is political theater. And at the end of the day, you always see redistricting happen after the U.S. Census, that data comes out. The last time that data came out was 2020. If you look at Texas and the population, since 2020, Texas has gained 1.6 million residents, 2/3 going to those large metro areas that they're talking about redistricting. Delaying the adjustments to the next census to 2031, what's happening is you're going to see underrepresentation of Texans living there right now. The way I see it, and as we heard last hour with Harris on the Faulkner Focus, essentially to redistrict, that's going to ensure the values of the communities who have shaped Texas for generations, that they are not going to be eclipsed by these transient urban population shifts.
Yeah, that's exactly true. So what the Attorney General Ken Paxton was talking about specifically was the fact that the ballooning of the population has been rather transient. I mean, it isn't just a natural progression coming out of people who love Texas. They're escaping California and other blue-lit areas. And so when you get that infused, you want to make sure everybody has representation. But then he reminded us of something that you said, Joey, and that's that Illinois is one of the most gerrymandered places in the Union, in our republic, rather. I mean, that's amazing. And the fact that they would go there and Pritzker would stand up and be bold and be everybody's best friend like he does with illegal aliens because it's a sanctuary city and state. He's giving sanctuary for a different reason. If you don't like the way they are putting Texas together, you can move to Illinois. I hope he means that because maybe some people will take him up on it. Maybe those Democrat lawmakers will just stay there.
Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, Jasmine. Well, and she doesn't like the redistricting in part because if she decides she's not going to run for Senate and she may stay a congresswoman, it puts her residents outside the actual district, Texas 30, that she represents. So that's an interesting detail,
well,
too.
And Governor Newsom coming out and speaking out against all this, I actually find comical because in 2023, 133,000 residents moved to Texas. 94,000 of them came from California. They're fleeing Governor Newsom to Governor Abbott's state.
Yeah,
that's right. So well, come on, feel the noise, Illinois.
Everybody's fleeing New York, California, Chicago, or Illinois. A lot of people are fleeing to Florida, Georgia, Texas. I'm telling y'all, man. I'm telling y'all. And most people are like, why wouldn't the Democrat roll up their sleeves and go to work? Well, some people might say because they're sleaze bags. That was good, huh? All right, here we go.
Anyway, here with breaking news, the very latest from Austin is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Governor, when I looked, I have a whole sheet here of every single Democratic state, and it's just like the examples I put up there. They have gerrymandered their states left, right, sideways. They're saying, well, they're gonna do to their states what you're doing in Texas. They already did it in all of these blue states. Frankly, Republicans should have caught up a long time ago.
Well, Sean, first of all, Texas is doing what we are allowed to by the law. And one reason why that law exists the way that it does is because the Democrats brought a lawsuit after our last redistricting, and that decision and that lawsuit came out last year. And that lawsuit recognized that coalition districts are not required. And so Texas has a right to redraw these lines to fully represent the desires of every voter in the state. But, Sean, that misses the point here. The point here is that Democrats have done something that's very un-Texan. They've turned their backs on their fellow Texans. When it came to a fight, they turned and ran away, not just from this redistricting fight. They ran away from dealing with the flooding issues that are still echoing across the Kerrville area. Families desperately need results from the state legislature in this 30-day special session that are not going to be delivered because Democrats are hanging out in Chicago and New York and other places.
Yeah. All right. Let me run through the states. California, Republicans, 39% of the House vote, but they only have 17% of the seats. Connecticut, Republicans, 40% of the House vote, 0 seats, none, zip. Illinois, 2024, Republicans, they got a pretty respectable 47% of the statewide vote, 18% of House seats. Maryland, one of the bluest states, Trump gets 35%, but they only have 12% of House seats. Massachusetts, again, 0 House seats. Nevada is even worse. Republicans win the state. They won the state House by 10 points, walked away with 1 single House seat in the entire state. That's it. So this has been the practice of these states for the longest period of time. Now they want to attack you. And I'm thinking, OK, what you're doing is exactly what they did.
Well, and not even that, Sean. To be honest, the Texas maps are not going to be as extreme as those other blue states that you talked about. But another thing, and that is what Texas is doing under these new maps. 4 of the 5 new seats will be a majority Hispanic seats. One of the seats is going to restore the Barbara Jordan seat over in the Houston area. And so these are seats where Democrats are having to come to grips with the reality. And that is they are now losing the votes of Hispanics and black voters in the state of Texas. And these districts are going to show that Hispanics and blacks, as well as others, are voting for Republican, and Republican is their candidate of choice. And we will ensure that will be achieved at the congressional level in the state of Texas.
Well, certainly it should be somewhat proportional to what the vote is. What is your response to Kathy Hochul, who says that we are at war over Texas and the redistricting push that's going on in Texas?
That's a bunch of crazy bluster. Democrats are freaking out because they are realizing Texas has the authority to redistrict, and we're going to do so in a way that's going to lead to these additional seats that will vote Republican, and they will be serving in Congress in the next session. And so Democrats are freaking out about it, engaging in rhetoric, but I don't think they have the capability of actually living up to it and doing anything about it. Texas will continue to fight for what is right, and that's exactly what we are doing.
Is it a fair statement to say that Republicans, in terms of the percentages and numbers that they have voted, have been unfairly cheated out of their representation? I think that's a more fair statement.
Well, a different way to say it, and that is, at least in Texas,
and not your state. I'm talking about blue states.
Yeah, and I'll talk about both. In Texas, we are going to ensure that voters are going to be able to vote for their candidate of choice. For example, I think Donald Trump won in all 5 of these seats that we will be making Republican seats. The same thing should apply in all those other states, Sean, that you mentioned in your monologue, where you pointed out the gross gerrymandering in these blue states have rejected Republican candidates for office that should be serving those states, should be serving our country. It's the gerrymandering in the blue states that has distorted the politics in America.
All right, Governor, good for you. Good for the fight. We'll see if these guys show up and do their job as they should do. But clearly, they don't want the same rules applied to them. That's what the story is.
No matter what, you should show up to your job. No matter what, you should show up to work. Like, just think about it. If you have a job to do and you don't show up, what happens to you? You get fired. Okay? So these folks are not showing up to work. For what? Because I don't like what the governor is doing? Man, you better show up to work. If you don't like it, then fight for what you want. It's not, I don't like it, so I'm not going to show up. Like kids. You are not a child. Go to work and be an adult. What in the world, man? All right, here we go.
And now, runaway drama queens. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Well, they can run, but they cannot hide. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott dropping the hammer on Texas Democrats who fled the state. They're trying to block a Republican redistricting plan ahead of the midterms. There are consequences for dereliction of duty, he said just a few hours ago, announcing arrest warrants for all missing Democrats in the House there. Now, although Texas authorities, they don't reach beyond state boundaries, Abbott's making a key point. Democrats are the true threats to democracy. Unless they get the results they want, they're going to do everything in their power to undermine it. You heard it from Mike as we opened the show. On the national level, they did what they did against Trump, and now in Texas, they're doing what they're doing now. And I love how, just like the illegal aliens that they love, the Democrats love to protect them, these liberals in Texas fled to sanctuary jurisdictions. And get this, in one case, on a private jet to Chicago. And it was like watching really bad summer stock theater.
We will not relent to an authoritarian president that wants to steal and racially gerrymander our black and brown districts.
This extraordinary set of a quorum break is so that your voices can be heard.
This is the destruction of America and the destruction of value of our vote. So you see me? Look at here. Bye. I'm out, but I'm here for you.
I'm here for you as I leave for Chicago. But come on, what courage, what sacrifice.
This is the last tool that we have to stop Trump. If politicians can simply stop listening to their people, it's over. Our democracy, everything that America stands for, will be gone.
They're going to inspire other people who have been wanting to see Democrats stand and fight, because this comes at great personal risk to them.
Our Texas state legislators are courageous in fighting the Trump map.
I hope that Texas Democrats taking this heroic step inspires more heroism, and that courage will inspire more courage.
Okay, courage. This is not Selma. All right, this isn't the March on Washington. This is a taxpayer-funded retreat with better catering. But look, this is all the Democrats have: stunts, play acting, and tantrums for TikTok. Now, if you
they should have walked. They should have walked, because there's no way that they're flying. I thought they're trying to save the environment. I thought they're trying to save climate. Why are you flying? You should have walked from Texas to Chicago, okay? Because you're trying to save the climate, right? Why did you have to fly and pollute the environment for the rest of us? The Democrat, we're trying to save the climate. And they're flying in private jet? Nah, man, nah, man. Y'all, you should have walked.
Months ago, they had their anti-Doge tantrums outside the Department of Education and USAID. Then came the scuffles with security outside ICE detention facilities in places like New Jersey. It was all political theater. Then there was Senator Alex Padilla's Emmy Award-winning role of crashing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's press conference. And now, the Texas Democrats.
Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of shit. Okay, we know that. Yes, yes. He is. But in a functioning democracy, he still would not be able to get away with this.
All right, here we go.
Meanwhile, Democrats' host in Chicago, Governor J.B. Pritzker, is playing the role of kind of the godfather here, lending a hand with messaging.
Texas Democrats were left no choice but to leave their home state, block a vote from taking place, and protect their constituents. This is a righteous act of courage.
So, from one failed leader to another. I mean, this is all they have. Getting in on the Texas Democrats Act is easier for Pritzker than solving his state's problems. Of course, all caused by liberal leadership, including the fact that, oh, sorry, JB, though, 262,000 people have fled Illinois since he took office. And for those Texas Dems who wanted to go a little further east, well, New York Governor Kathy Hochul, her state's doing wonderfully, was ready to take them all in.
I cannot stand by and let this happen while Donald Trump and his co-conspirator, Greg Abbott, erode our democracy and drag us toward authoritarianism. This is a war. We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on.
We're at war, huh? Imagine if the Republicans were using that language so casually. But this isn't a new stunt from the Democrats. They tried it all back in 2021. Back then, Democrats fled the state to stop an election reform bill. Governor Greg Abbott simply called another special session, and the bill passed anyway. But the voters don't really want political escapism, do they? Because they know they deserve serious leadership. And they're getting it from Trump and red state governors who are getting the job done. So to all those Democrats jet-setting across state lines, enjoy the room service. Because when you return, you'll be right back where you left off.
You would be right back where you left off. All right, here we go. More Hannity. Here we go.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we start with a Fox News alert. Tonight, justice is coming. Fox News is now confirmed. A federal grand jury has now been launched at the DOJ to pursue possible criminal charges related to the Russia hoax. Now, keep in mind, grand juries are conducted in secret, so we don't know what the charges are that are on the table, and these charges, what they're against. But if I were a deep state actor, you know the names, I would be deeply concerned. We have more on this major development. That's straight ahead. Also, our buddy, the one and only Stephen A. Smith, will join us to respond to the former First Lady of our country, Michelle Obama. Take a look.
You know, I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he's just like every other
he'd
talk
be a
show
great
host.
Real Housewife.
He would be.
Right. It would be amazing.
So that's why I'm like, what's the difference?
What's the difference? We'll lay it out. Stephen A. is here. He will respond in a minute. We'll also check in on the current state of the Democratic Party, which is now being praised by, well, mask-wearing, New York City, radical, communist, socialist, statist, Marxist. Take a look.
He collaborated with the Zohran Mamdani campaign on his trans rights platform. And what we explicitly wanted to do was use the power of New York City to provide free gender-affirming care.
Free gender-affirming care to minors. Who cares? I don't know. The latest on the rise of Marxist Mamdani is now moments away, but we begin with another Fox News alert tonight. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who will join us in a moment, has now issued arrest warrants for Democratic state legislators who fled Austin in order to prevent a quorum and delay a vote on the state's brand new redistricting proposal. Let us be clear here. He's elected Democrats. They're wasting valuable taxpayer money and time for yet another staged political stunt that will ultimately change nothing. Texas will redraw its districts. Republicans will gain seats in the House. This is, typical, predictable, performative art from Democrats, and another dramatic plea for attention, another desperate smear against President Trump as well. Take a look.
Democrats are going to respond from coast to coast and at all points in between to this effort to steal the midterm elections.
The tool they're using is a racist, gerrymandered map.
It's starting in Texas, but if this happens, all Americans will suffer.
If Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same.
I'm telling you right now, we need to win in the midterm. We need to stop him from cheating, from lying, and from stealing the election. And if they're doing something to add their congressional seats, we need to look at our ways of doing that right now.
All bets are off when the cult leader and would-be dictator of the United States tells Texas to midstream change the game when they know that they're going to lose in 2026. All bets are off.
All bets are off. One huge problem for the Democratic Party. It's called the truth. Look at even the New York Times pointing out Democrats have few tools to counter GOP redistricting because, quote, states where Democrats would have complete control over any redistricting, such are already gerrymandered heavily in their favor. Let me translate that for you. In other words, Democrats, they have been doing this in blue states forever, and only now Republicans are acting in kind and fighting back. That includes, by the way, the state of New York, the state of Illinois. In Illinois, for example, for whatever reason, Texas Democrats fled in order to delay a vote on redistricting and protest the horrible act of gerrymandering, which they have been doing forever. Of course, Illinois has a long history. It's been one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. Let me give you an example. 2024, Donald Trump, he got 44% of the vote in Illinois. Not bad considering most people with common sense in Illinois got out and left, and Republicans won 47% of statewide the House vote, but they only have 18% of the House seats. Why? Because of gerrymandering. Take a look at this map. Because of the way it was drawn by Democrats, only 3 out of the state's 17 House seats are controlled by Republicans. And it's not just Illinois. Most states under Democratic rule look exactly like that. In Maryland, for example, Republicans have just 1 seat while garnering 35% of the vote. In Massachusetts, Donald Trump got 36% of the vote. Republicans won 0 seats, not 1, representing the 36% of Republicans in that state. Republicans also won 0 seats in Connecticut, despite winning 40% of the vote. And get this, in the state of Nevada, a state that favored Republicans by a whopping 10 points, and a state that Donald Trump won in 2024, Democrats somehow won every single House race except for 1. Why? Gerrymandering. And we can go on and on and on. In fact, in 2024, Republicans won the nationwide vote by more than 2 points and lost 2 seats because of gerrymandering. And yet Democrats are now suddenly up in arms about redistricting. As you can see, they are not offended by the practice of gerrymandering. Again, this is all one big, meaningless political stunt with a bunch of slogans thrown in. And, of course, the word racist on top of it in order to raise money, get attention, trash President Trump by phony hypocrites that have mastered the policies of gerrymandering. Everyone say it at home. But that is the current state of the party. You are either a complete radical calling for a socialist Marxist revolution, or you spend your day completely, doing worthless stunts, performative art. Meanwhile, even fake news CNN, they have finally come to grips with reality, calling Trump the most influential president of the century. Take a look.
Donald Trump administration is arguably the most influential this century, and probably as well dating back a good portion of the last century as well. Love it, like it, lump it. Trump is remaking the United States of America. Let's talk about tariffs first, right? There's all this talk that Donald Trump always chickens out when it comes to tariffs. No tacos for Trump. The effective tariff rate, get this, It's 18%, but it's not just on tariffs, which of course Donald Trump ran on, in which you're seeing a tremendously influential presidency. What about immigration? Of course, Trump ran and has always run on a very hawkish immigration platform. Get this, 2025 net migration in the United States down at least 60% from last year.
Love it, like it, lump it. In just 6 months, President Trump is getting huge things, consequential, transformational things accomplished, and the Democrats, they're falling apart.
No tacos for Trump. I'll tell you that much. No tacos, baby. No tacos. Whew. All right, here we go. Stephen A. Smith.
Well, you may or may not have heard that Michelle Obama has a podcast. A couple of weeks ago, she had a former certain president on as a guest. Last week, our friend Stephen A. Smith somehow came up in a really weird, bizarre way during a conversation about reality TV. Take a look.
You know, if I listen to ESPN for an hour, it's like watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, it's the same drama and they're yelling at each other and they don't get along. You know, I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he's just like every other talk show host.
Real housewife.
He would be.
Right. It would be amazing.
So that's why I'm like, what's the difference? It's just, you know, it's just sociological drama.
Really, Michelle Obama isn't the only ghost of the Democrats' past to reemerge on the public scene recently. Former Vice President Kamala Harris announced her return to the spotlight last week with a book launch and an appearance on the very canceled Colbert. But some Democrats are not happy to see Kamala again. Multiple Democratic strategists telling Politico they would not want her campaigning for their candidates and say she should not run in 28. Here with his take, the star of First Take and the host of his own podcast and the host of every other show that he does, the one and only Stephen A. Smith. I took great offense at this. All right, so you and I will talk sports off air, and we'll agree at times to disagree. But when you look at an athlete, they have dedicated, whatever sport it happens to be, they have dedicated their entire lives to reach the pinnacle of success, to become a professional athlete or a top D1 college athlete. There's no comparison to these reality housewives show. I found it insulting.
Well, zero, but I didn't take offense to her comments. You know, she was comparing reality TV to sports TV from the standpoint of watching us go at one another. Well, first of all, like you said, there's no relation because these are some of the greatest athletes on the planet Earth that play professional sports. That's who we're talking about as opposed to reality TV stars that can barely act. That's number one. Number two, when you look at what she was talking about, you also have to take into consideration that she doesn't really pay much attention to sports. Evidently, she leaves that to her husband. And when she talked about First Take, she talked about us arguing with one another, hating on one another. We got a lot of love for one another on First Take. We get along just fine. We have a blast laughing and joking and having a ball and yelling at each other about sports. Sometimes we're monotone in our delivery, but we have a lot of fun on First Take. That's why we've been #1 for 13 consecutive years and counting. That's number two. Number three, let me say this to the other people she
just
rapped
don't
that
talk
she had
politics, and you're doing great.
Stop it. Let me say this last part to the other people that were on the table with her. You can say Stephen A. Smith is a lot of things and will be a lot of things. The one thing you can never say about me is that I'm going to be a housewife. There's no confusion there. Zero.
Here it is. Too much male testosterone on Hannity tonight. Here it is. Here come the comments. They're going to come flying in on X right now. You're on your own on that one. All right. You actually said something about Michelle Obama. You said a vote for Trump was a vote against you and a vote against women. Yeah. You took huge umbrage with that.
Yes, I did, and I still do. I took umbrage against that when she said it. I did the same with her husband when he spoke to young black men in Pittsburgh and basically alluded to misogyny if folks didn't vote for Kamala Harris. And I just thought that I was highly offended by that because for a long time, I think it's been a complete misnomer that black men don't revere black women. Where, you know, mamas and grandmamas and sisters and aunts helped raise us and make us into the men that we strive to be and aspire to be. And we've always revered them, and we have no problem from supporting a woman if we agree with them, talking about politically. If Kamala Harris is somebody that most people thought could handle the job of being the president of the United States, she would have been the one to get 77 plus million votes instead of Donald Trump. They want to bring up the fact that she only lost by 1.5%, but she lost every swing state. She lost the male vote. She lost a lot of the black vote and the Hispanic vote compared to what Biden had done 4 years earlier. So it was a legitimate, bona fide, straight up loss. And it's the first time a Republican had won the popular vote, I think, since 2004, if I remember correctly. So the bottom line is it speaks for itself. And in the end, if she was strong enough and it resonated strong enough with more people with that 107 days she had to campaign, she would have won the election. If she was strong enough, maybe she would have got past Iowa in 2020. If she was strong enough, maybe they would not have had to bypass a primary in order for her to be in that situation where she was in a position to succeed Joe Biden.
Do you want to say now, tonight,
so what it
Hannity, you were right about President Trump. He's been a great president, an
I'm not saying that.
consequential,
I'm not saying that.
transformational 6 months.
No, I'm not willing to say that. Let me tell you why I'm not going to say. Hold on. Let me tell you why I'm not going to say it. Are you going to interrupt me? Let me tell you why I'm not going to say it. Excuse me. I heard about the 10 trillion in investments for manufacturing, autos, and semiconductors.
Actually,
I heard those are
closer
pledges.
to 15 now.
All right. But those are pledges. Let's see it actually reach fruition. I saw the jobs report. 113,000 jobs was expected in July. Only got about 73. I heard about it. Excuse me. Hold on. Is the royal Russia and Ukraine still going on that he said he was going to end? I'm sorry, Israeli-Hamas conflict. Is that over? I mean, is that a perfect record here, Sean? You need to stop that about him. He's got. By the way, hold on.
No president has ever gotten the commitments for pharmaceuticals, rare earths, for semiconductor chips, automobiles.
I want
building
commitments
here in America.
It's a lot of commitments that get made. It don't mean it reaches fruition. I need to see it. Last thing, by the way,
you just can't, you know what you can't do?
Big beautiful bill is so big and beautiful.
You were wrong.
Listen,
just admit it.
Beautiful bill is so big and beautiful.
Then
why are all of these other storylines? Why are y'all focusing on all of this other stuff
storyline?
Instead of excuse me, Russian collusion? That's what we bringing up now. We bringing that up now. I mean, that's what we think about.
Do you know anything about? All right, tell me. All right, you're so smart. What is the Hillary Clinton bought and paid for Russian disinformation dossier? What is it? I'm going to test you if you want to go down this road. We'll test you.
I'm not going down the road. The Steele dossier speaks for itself. I heard what you said about Hillary Clinton. There's a lot of evidence against. I understand that. What I'm saying, I'm not questioning the information. I'm not questioning the legitimacy of the story. I'm saying with all the good things that you say Trump is doing, you would think he'd be talking a lot more about that stuff. He doesn't seem to be talking about that very much.
Okay, he is. We haven't added up the minutes. We will, but he speaks to the media nearly every day.
Oh, I know that.
Joe Biden was incapable of doing that.
I know that too.
Well, there you go. That's your party.
I didn't deny that.
Okay, it's you say you're a Democrat. You're now part of the party of Mamdani, of Jasmine Crockett. You're the party of Kamala Harris. You're the party of Pocahontas, Grandpa Bernie, AOC, the Squad, the anti-Semitic members of the Squad.
Oh, you're going to throw your boy under the bus like that? You're going to throw your boy under the bus like that, Sean? You know good and well I wouldn't vote for Mamdani. I wouldn't vote for AOC. I don't like the way Jasmine Crockett is talking. I don't think that helps the Democratic Party.
All right, I have a last question.
I don't like that.
Question. Who are the leaders of your party right now? It's not Hakeem Jeffries and it's not Chuck Schumer. It's all those names I mentioned.
Sean, there is no leader for the Democratic Party.
There is no leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Democrat. Y'all have no leaders. What in the world, y'all? Get it together.
The Messiah told Democrats to toughen up. And what did they do? They ran away.
If you're seeing this video, my Democratic colleagues and I have just left our beloved state to break quorum and stop Trump's redistricting power grab.
It is 2025. We are breaking quorum.
It's time to keep making good trouble. Thank you all for your prayers. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to speak the truth of power, doing everything it takes to save and protect our democracy. We didn't start this fight. Donald Trump started it. So you see me? Look at here. Bye.
Democrats in Texas fled their state yesterday because they claim Trump's going to steal the midterms. They had a private jet pick them up in Austin. The charter is an E-170 with leather seating and runs about $15,000 an hour. Who paid for it? We don't know. But we do know where it went. Illinois. Governor J.B. Back Ribs Pritzker gave them a big old bear hug in Chicago and declared it a sanctuary city for flea baggers. JB Back's giving them logistical support. Not sure what that means, but sources say free hotel rooms and meals. The Texas refugees say they had to run because Republicans wouldn't listen.
We really didn't have a choice. We tried to negotiate Republicans. We tried to talk to them. We tried to reason with them. We tried to tell them that the public is very angry at what they're doing, and they simply wouldn't listen.
This smells like a vacation. Texas is hot in August, high 90s all week. With humidity, it feels like 100. So they hop on a plane and check into a Hyatt in Chicago. We were in Chicago last August for the convention. It is beautiful. Nice breeze comes off the lake.
We're doing that.
They're not working. They're just sitting around doing CNN hits. One guy says he's the victim.
As a state representative, I get paid about $600 a month before taxes. And so that's not much to live off of. And so many of my colleagues, including myself, we have day jobs that help us pay the bills. And by breaking quorum, we are leaving those day jobs behind. We are sacrificing the income that we need to make ends meet.
Like Kanye said, how are you going to be mad on vacation? Over 50 Democrats quit their jobs, left their friends, voters, family behind to go glamping at Fort JB Back. They're acting like they were drafted.
This is a war. We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on.
Texas is redistricting, so Democrats might lose a few congressional seats. Doesn't sound like war to me. Shooting Trump and arresting him, that was a lot more warlike. And did Trump run away? No. If Texas is a war zone, why are Democrats abandoning their brothers and sisters? Texas isn't actually a war zone. Democrats just ran out of the state house and won't do their jobs, so now no one in the state house can do their job. Texas Governor Greg Abbott's been riding their bumpers, told them to get back to work or else.
The reports are these legislators have been both, they sought money and they offered money to skip the vote, to leave the legislature, to take a legislative act. That would be bribery. They face a possibility of facing bribery charges, which is a second-degree felony in the state of Texas. There's one way to cure that, and that is if they get back to the state of Texas and make quorum today at a hearing that we have at 3 o'clock.
Democrats had until 3 to show, and they didn't. So Governor Abbott's sending out a posse to arrest them for dereliction of duty and drag them back to the Capitol. They told us no one is above the law. And if they resist, the posse is going to hand them to Homan, and they'll wind up in El Salvador with the Maryland dad. Jazzy Crockett, who fled D.C. during the pandemic with a cohort of fleabaggers because Republicans were about to pass voter ID, may actually lose her seat to redistricting. And guess who she blames?
Because the Supreme Court has paved the way for half the stuff that we see that's going on. Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of shit. Okay, we know that. Yes, yes. He is.
A part of me feels what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But I'd also like to keep Crockett in Congress because she's such a delicious foil. And so what if Texas is redistricting? So what? Their state constitution gives them the legal right to. Democrats have been trying to redistrict Texas by letting millions of migrants break in. They've been trying to turn Texas blue illegally. Both parties gerrymander a little bit. But look at the state where Democrats fled to, the gerrymandering capital of the world, Illinois. They just play connect the dots with blue cities. That map looks like Jesse Jr. drew it. That one district, the squiggly one down there, the blue one, that looks like an earthworm on LSD. And look at one of the Texas districts that Democrats are running away from. They basically drew a highway between Houston and Austin. Even the media is calling them hypocrites.
Do you believe it's hypocritical for Democrats to deploy the same strategy that they're criticizing by Republicans in Texas?
Well, first of all, let's understand why Donald Trump is asking for 5 more Republican seats out of Texas. It's because his policies, especially his economic policies, have been so bad.
Dodge. The American people don't even know the word gerrymander, and they don't care. They just want politicians to show up to work. Democrats never ran away from their job when you lost money, you lost your home, or God forbid your daughter lost her life. They're running away when they might lose power. They're admitting that a blue wave's not coming. It's more like a blue trickle. So they're running, hiding, and throwing a tantrum like my daughter Gigi does when she doesn't get her way. And every parent knows you can't give in, even when your children start breaking stuff.
It was everything I could have ever dreamed and hoped for.
What were you thinking about when you were smashing? What did you smash?
The patriarchy.
What were you smashing the anger out for today?
Everything, you know, like our rights being taken away slowly but surely.
Many trans friends that are afraid to even walk outside.
You, Trump! You! That's where I'm at.
Dear Lord.
Democrats can't even figure that out. They're just raging out, but it doesn't hit because of their history.
The Democrats saying anything's a threat to democracy is wild when they haven't had a primary since 2012. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's really wild. I mean, they kicked Bernie out. They made sure RFK Jr. wasn't in. And then when it came time for Kamala to run, no primary at all. They just put her in position.
Even rank and file Democrats are waking up and realizing their party doesn't represent them. It only represents the party machine.
I'm registered Democrat, but I hate my party. I haven't voted for a Democrat really in the elections in quite a while. And yes, I voted a Republican many times because I like the policies better. Democrats have had terrible policies, and now we have the rise of the so-called progressives. They're really regressives.
They need to show more interest in working people instead of saying they're for working people.
If Democrats don't like the way they're losing power in Texas, the way to get it back isn't by running away. It's by running their cities better. Democrats should look at what DeSantis and Florida Republicans did. His policies made Florida so attractive, everyone moved there. And it boosted the party's power. Or Democrats could push popular policies that persuade people to come over to their side. Real men don't run away in a crisis. They listen.
Facts. Real men do not run away. They never back down. They take the pain and they keep on moving forward. That's it. That's it. All right, the gorgeous, beautiful.
A grand jury investigation is now underway regarding the Trump-Russia hoax. The media enablers that peddled the lie for years, though, are circling the wagons.
This is extraordinarily stupid. It's extraordinarily stupid on so many counts. Barack Obama had nothing to do with this by anybody's accounts.
We're all for transparency on any potential corruption, right? But this is something that has been combed over for a decade now.
I think they're trying to create the appearance of progress in this investigation without actually making any progress.
They all did their job, right? For the 4 years, 5 years. Meanwhile, President Trump, he's awaiting answers.
I have nothing to do. Pam is doing a great job. I have nothing to do with it. I will tell you this. They deserve it. I was happy to hear it. I actually read it just like you did. I have nothing to do with it.
Here with reaction is Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. Director Gabbard, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Laura.
There's a report tonight from the Federalist that the DOJ is actually asking you for more documents in its grand jury probe. Is that true? And what are they asking for now?
That is true, Laura, and I just want to point out how important this is, that Attorney General Pam Bondi, through the Department of Justice, is taking this necessary first step toward accountability, which is essential for the American people to begin to have any kind of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. I met with the Department of Justice prosecutors today, and yes, they are committed to leaving no stone unturned as they conduct this grand jury investigation and find the truth. Obviously, we've already handed over the documents that we've declassified and released publicly over the last few weeks. They have more questions, and they're going to be really taking a deep dive into this, again, looking everywhere to find the truth and conduct this very serious investigation.
You heard the media reaction. A lot of these same people were just buying lock, stock, and barrel what was sold to them during the 2016 election. But they're essentially saying, this is all old news. This is such a stupid political move on their part. And to that, you say?
They are using the same old tactic that the deep state's propaganda arm in the media uses. Whenever they come across something that is true and that doesn't go along with whatever their narrative is that they're trying to shove down the throats of the American people, they first usually ignore it, as they did when I first released these documents a couple of weeks ago. They tried to ignore it. When they realized that they weren't going to get away with this, that this story was going to continue breathing life, we continued releasing new documents. Then they decided, oh, we'll take this approach of say, oh, this is nothing. There's nothing really to see here. This is bizarre. This is a conspiracy. These are the things that they do over and over and over again. And the next step they will take when they feel that they are not succeeding in getting rid of this truth that we have uncovered for the American people, then they will go down the route of we must destroy and smear and attack the credibility of those who are delivering the truth to the American people. They've done this to President Trump. They've done this to me. They've done this to so many different people, once again, who are trying to tell the American people the truth and expose these people, many of whom you just showed, for who they are as the propaganda arm of the deep state, which would have no power and no influence if they weren't able to feed their lies into a willing spokesperson through the propaganda media.
Now, Director, you said there was irrefutable evidence that Obama was the mastermind of this intelligence manipulation and the perpetuation of the Russia hoax. What is that irrefutable evidence for our viewers tonight?
Yeah, Laura, you know, as you were playing those clips of these people like Morning Joe seemingly befuddled, saying that by no account is any of this true, I would challenge them to see if they've actually read the documents, every single page of the documents that we've released over the last couple of weeks. If not, go to odni.gov, G-O-V. It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia, that the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president's order. And very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election, not if, but how. And this was the beginning of this manufactured intelligence assessment where they knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false, and they knew they were false. They knew that they were basing it on discredited intelligence or documents like the Steele dossier that was politically motivated and that they knew was false. And this was how they came up with the Russia hoax that was then weaponized and used to try to delegitimize the president, President Trump, and to try to ultimately enact this years-long coup throughout his entire 4 years of his first administration.
And they further say that there's like this idea of saying that Obama is guilty of treason, that there's almost no chance that he's going to be charged or convicted of treason. So why even go there? And I'll pose that question to you.
The integrity of our democratic republic depends on the American people knowing the truth about what actually happened and seeking that accountability, bringing about that accountability. I don't know how else to characterize what happens when there is a sitting president of the United States, there is a director of the CIA, a director of national intelligence under President Obama, the head of the NSA, James Comey is the head of the FBI, all coming together, and this is documented in what we released, all coming together to create this lie with the intent of delegitimizing the duly elected president of the United States because the person they wanted to win actually lost. And the American people made their own choice in spite of everything that happened in that 2016 election, and they chose Donald Trump. This was not a one-off thing. This wasn't just, oh, well, they fudged the lines a little bit. They created a lie and propagated that lie in order to try to undermine the person that the American people chose to be our president and commander-in-chief.
To your point that you made earlier, that when they're losing on the facts, they demonize the messenger. And in this case, you're the messenger. And I think this is a big reason your opposition to the forever war syndrome, that's one reason. But then this was another reason they clearly did not want you in your position. And to that point, Mark Warner, of course, Democrat senator from Virginia, wrote on X today, Tulsi Gabbard is a threat to our national security and should be fired. He's taking his orders pretty well, don't you think, Director?
He has and continues to be a reliable soldier. And you're right there, Laura, to make that comparison, because these very same tactics they are using now are the same tactics that the warmongers of Washington have consistently used whenever anyone challenges them to say, hey, this does not serve the best interests of the American people. It does not make us more safe, secure, and free. So why are you doing this? Exposing these people for who they are. And once again, who is the deep state? What does it consist of? We're seeing this revealed in real time here. And it's important for the American people to pay attention and realize, like, hey, with the mainstream propaganda media, we got to pay attention. We got to use our common sense and recognize we should accept nothing they say at face value.
And how important is it to root out any remaining problems in these agencies, Director? Because we need our people to believe in the FBI, to believe in the CIA, to or get rid of them altogether. I mean, I hate to say that, or just completely defund a lot of these intelligence agencies. If we can't trust them, if they're going to subvert democracy and subvert our presidency, why are we funding them?
Well, this is, and I'll go back to that Mark Warner tweet that you put out saying that I'm a threat to national security. Why? Because I'm actually exposing the truth. As Director of National Intelligence, I'm doing the work to go and root out those deep state bad actors within the intelligence community, because our country's national security depends on it. The rule of law requires it. The integrity of our democratic republic requires that, rooting out the truth, telling the truth to the American people, and bringing about that accountability. So yes, it is essential across the board, not only to root out the individual bad actors, but to enact the kind of institutional reform to make it so that these kinds of things cannot be allowed to happen again.
Director,
I got to tell you, man, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is not only gorgeous, beautiful, smart, but anything she says carries a lot of weight. And I got to say, she also kind of saved Pam Bundy with all of those back and forth Pam Bundy was doing. But Tulsi stepped in. She stepped in and changed the game. So I got to give Tulsi Gabbard, her credit. She deserves her flowers, man. He changed the whole trajectory of the whole conversation. As that 2-3 weeks ago, we were all talking about something else. Now everybody's changed the topic based on Tulsi Gabbard declassification of those Russian Gate document. All right, here we go. This happened today. The Commander-in-Chief.
Please welcome Casey Wasserman, Chairman of LA 28, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, and the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a big day for a lot of reasons. And it's an honor to have you in this very nice venue across the street from the White House. And thank you all for being here as we take a major step to ensure the United States is fully prepared to welcome the world to Los Angeles for the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. Very exciting day of my life when we got nominated and we ultimately got it. And I didn't think I'd be here for the games in this capacity, but it worked out that way. So I'm very happy about that. I had no idea that was going to happen. When we got it, I said, it's too bad I won't be president then, but sort of we took a very circuitous route, didn't we? In my first term, we were instrumental in helping the city of Los Angeles win the bid to bring the Olympic torch back to American soil. And today I will sign an executive order establishing the White House task force on the 2028 Summer Olympics, mobilizing the entire federal government to ensure the games are safe, seamless, and historically successful. It's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be amazing. America is a nation of champions, and in July 2028, we'll show the world what America does best, and that's win. We're winning like we have never won before. You see that all the time. A year ago, we were not a country that was doing well, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. I want to recognize several members of the task force, including our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you very much. Thank you. Our equally great Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Pam, thank you very much, Pam. Secretary of Homeland Security, Christy Kerr. Christy Kerr. Do you know who Christy Kerr is? She's a friend of my great golfer. Christy Noem, she's a better golfer than you. That's the only thing, but you're better at a lot of other things. But I want to thank you for being here, for doing an unbelievable job, really an unbelievable job. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr. Brendan, thank you. Thank you, Brendan. Doing a great job. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, most powerful woman anywhere in the world. She's rated the most powerful woman in the world, and I agree with that. And Deputy Chiefs of Staff Stephen Miller. Stephen, thank you. What happened to Stephen? We never want to miss Stephen. He's an MVP candidate. Dan Scavino, another MVP. James Blair, Taylor Budovich, and Nick Luna. Thank you all. Great group of people. They're going to be very much involved. I also am grateful to be joined by two of Team USA's strongest and fastest competitors, retired gold medalist and gymnast, and member of the LA 28 Athletes Council, Nastasia Lukin. Nastasia? How are you, Nastasia? Good. I don't know you, but I've watched you. You're very talented. I would not want to do what you do. This is much easier, believe me. It's incredible what you've done. Along with retired gold medal Paralympian swimmer and board member of the U.S. Olympic Committee, Brad Snyder. Brad, thank you very much, Brad. It's a great honor. Thank you. Chairman of the 2028 Olympic Games, Casey Wasserman, a friend of mine for a long time. Casey, thank you very much. Casey, great job. It's going to be amazing. LA's a little bit different place than it was when selected, but we're going to bring it back stronger than ever. I spoke to Casey about that. He said, nope, we're going to make it better than ever. It's going to be something that's going to make it even more important as a Olympic Games. It was an interesting conversation we had as the fires were raging. Is that right? And I appreciated that very much. And CEO Reynold Hoover. Reynold, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great honor. I also want to welcome the chair of the U.S. Olympic Committee, Gene Sykes. Gene, thank you. Thank you, Gene, very much. And thank him for recently banning men from competing in women's sports. That's a big deal. Thank you very much. It's amazing the way I don't hear any applause for that when everyone feels it. It's a 97, don't worry about it. That's a 97-3. It's not 80-20, it's 97-3. But nobody wants to clap. It's crazy. The United States will not let men steal trophies from women at the 2028 Olympics, so we appreciate the fairness and everything else that you've shown. Also with us today is LA 28 board member Reince Priebus and also Kevin McCarthy. I want to thank Kevin McCarthy and Reince. Thank you, Reince. And thank you, Kevin. And the LA Olympics is shaping up to be a wonderful moment for America. It's going to be incredible. It's so exciting. And with today's action, I'm directing the Department of State, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Secret Service, the Department of Transportation, and many other departments and agencies to use every tool at their disposal to ensure a fantastic, safe, and beautiful event. In 2028, the Olympics is bringing back our national pastime, baseball. Wow, that's great. With teams playing under the lights at the legendary Dodger Stadium, and it is legendary. It's beautiful, one of the most beautiful. Squash players will go head-to-head inside the world-famous Universal Studios. Triathletes will sprint beneath the sun shining down on Venice Beach. This will be one of the great venues. I mean, when you think of it, right? It's going to be so incredible. Soccer teams will face off at the legendary Rose Bowl. Sailors will race through the waters near the port of Los Angeles, and the opening ceremony will take place at the beautiful Memorial Coliseum, just like the Olympics of 1932 and 1984. That was something. Those were very important Olympics. 1932 was a very important Olympics, wasn't it, huh? For 8 straight consecutive summer games, no one has won more medals than Team USA, which is incredible. We want to keep it that way. Over the years, Team USA has won triple the number of Summer Olympic gold medals as the next closest country, and I'm confident that that's going to continue in 2028. That's an amazing achievement, by the way. Between the LA Olympics and the FIFA World Cup next year, we have the World Cup and we have the Olympics, got them both. It's a great time to be a sports fan in America. And maybe, you know, I don't want to say most importantly, but it is a celebration of 250 years. We have our 250th anniversary also during the year. And it's going to be between the three of them. I think there'll be no other time that we've ever had in our history like that. So I'd like to ask the LA Olympics Chairman, Casey Wasserman, to say a few words. And I appreciate it very much, Casey. Great job you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your support and the entire administration's support through this whole process has been truly extraordinary. In just 1,074 days, yes, we're counting, sir, the eyes of the world will be on this country as we open the 2028 Olympics. And it feels just like yesterday, and you were just president-elect in December of 2016, that you leaned into this process back then. And you've been supportive and helpful every step of the way, and we wouldn't be here without you, so we greatly appreciate all your support.
Thank you very much.
Our games plan is near final. We've announced a competition schedule. Some of the greatest brands in America have stepped up to support these Olympic Games as commercial partners. And now with the creation of this task force, we've unlocked the opportunity to level up our planning and deliver the largest and, yes, greatest games for our nation ever. We expect more than 150 heads of state will come to the Games. We'll host approximately 11,000 Olympic and 4,500 Paralympic athletes. They'll participate in 800 competitions at 49 competition venues. This will be the equivalent of producing 7 Super Bowls a day, sir, for 30 days. Yeah. But we are now focused more than ever on delivery, and we can't do this alone. I want to thank President Trump and the entire administration for their support and their partnership as we work to bring these games home. These will be truly America's games. We expect millions of fans from around the country to participate and attend events. And for the first time in history, we're going to take the Olympic torch relay to all 50 states. The most states it's ever gone to is 38, but in 2028, we will touch all 50 states. And sir, if you'd like to run on Park Avenue again to revisit history, you're more than welcome. And we're thrilled. But this administration has delivered critical security funding in the recent bill that will be used by local and state agencies and the federal government to make sure that our games are safe and secure and ultimately the best place to experience and be an Olympic fan. We remain incredibly confident in our ability to deliver the greatest games ever, and that starts with the support of this administration every step of the way. Thank you, sir. The Olympic movement, but as you know, 1984 hosted the Olympics in Los Angeles, right? And someone we admire, President Reagan, both of us, presided over those, and you will preside over our games. So we have for you a full set of the 84 original medals.
Wow. Can I say that I won them athletically?
Yes, sir.
That would be a great honor.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You will say
Yep.
that? Okay, come on around, everybody. This is a big one here.
Yep.
Okay. Pam, no auto pen. That was not an auto pen. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. President, will the Department of Justice... Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Excuse me.
That are
Excuse Excuse me. No, he called on me, but thank
Go
you.
ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you still plan to follow through on your threat to impose 100% tariffs on all countries that purchase Russian energy, including China?
Well, I never said a percentage, but we'll be doing quite a bit of that. We'll see what happens over the next fairly short period of time. But we'll see what happens. Yep. You know, they have a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting with Russia tomorrow. We're going to see what happens. We'll make that determination at that time. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for calling on me. Thank you, Mr. President. On Ukraine, President Zelensky just signed a law allowing for citizens age 60 and above to serve in the military. We've seen dozens of videos of young men being hauled into vans and dragged to the front lines against their will. And we've even seen videos of a young man with Down syndrome serving on the front line. You, when you campaigned, you said you wanted to see the people stop dying. A lot of people admired that statement. Now the people dying are elderly, mentally handicapped, and conscripts. So even if a ceasefire doesn't work out, why should Americans continue to fund a foreign military that's scraping the bottom of the barrel of its population like this?
Well, you have to understand very importantly, this is Biden's war. This is not my war. I'm here to get us out of it. It's a mess, and I'm here to get us out. I haven't heard that when you say about 60-year-old men and, et cetera. But this is Biden's war, and we're working very hard to get us out. I stopped 5 wars in the last 5 months, actually, and I'd like this to be the 6th, frankly, and that doesn't even include Iran, with, obliterating their nuclear haul, because they would have had nuclear weapons within 2 months. But stopped a lot of wars. You just take a look at the ones just over the last 2 or 3 months. It's been amazing. This is the one I'm trying to stop. This is the one we're working hardest on. The other ones I stopped within a matter of days, almost every one of them, including India and Pakistan. And I could go over the whole list, but you know the list as well as I do. But this is the one we'd like to see. I haven't not heard that, but this is Biden's war. And it's a war that he got us into, or indirectly got us into. It should have never happened. It would have never happened had I been president. Yeah, next to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you support Israel reoccupying all of Gaza, as has been suggested by some Israeli officials?
Well, I don't know what the suggestion is. I know that we are there now trying to get people fed. As you know, $60 million was given by the United States fairly recently to supply food, and a lot of food, frankly, for the people of Gaza that are obviously not doing too well with the food. And I know Israel's going to help us with that in terms of distribution and also money. We also have the Arab states are going to help us with that in terms of the money and possibly distribution. So that's what I'm focused on. As far as the rest of it, I really can't say. That's going to be pretty much up to Israel. Yeah, please. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. On transgender athletes in the Olympics, back to the safety, especially of female combat boxers, will the Department of Justice considering pressing charges against any man that tries to masquerade as a woman coming into this country to beat up American athletes? And secondly, would your administration consider genetic testing so that these people can prove that they're actually women competing?
Well, I think there is going to be a very strong form of testing. As far as charges, I'd have to ask the Attorney General about that. I don't know. But there will be a very, very strong form of testing. And if the test doesn't come out appropriately, they won't be in the Olympics. Yes, ma'am, please. Go ahead, please. White.
Thank you. Mr. President, do you believe that the U.S. committee would have made this decision on men and women's sports if you weren't president? And do you believe that this decision will stay in place once you are no longer president?
I think they probably would have, because it just seems to be an issue that most people feel should be. I can't really say. I'd have to. You could have asked Chairman Wasserman, but I would say that there's a possibility. It could go either way if you really want to know the truth. I feel strongly about it. I have. I ran a campaign, at least partially, on that. That was one of the many issues that I talked about: open borders, the economy, taxes, all of the things. But that was certainly one of the issues. So I really can't. I really don't know. Could have gone either way. Please.
Have you decided on a replacement for the Fed governor?
For Fed governor, I'll be making that decision before the end of the week, and we'll either decide on one for permanence or the 4-month period, the term. There's a term of about a number of months. We have a couple of candidates. I mean, everybody wants it, okay? It's not a couple, but we've narrowed it to a couple of candidates. And we've also, we're looking at the Fed chair, and that's down to 4 people right now. Very good. Well, I can tell you, because I've already said there's 2 Kevins and 2 other people, okay? Brian?
Thank you, Mr. President. This has to do with the safety aspect of the Olympics. What can you do as a president to ensure that Southern California, the greater Los Angeles area, is safe from any fire danger, that the state clears away brush in state parks, the reason why this last fire happened in Pacific Palisades? What can you ensure for that?
Well, as you know, Brian, we have, I've been fighting with them for a long time about allowing the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, essentially. And we actually opened up that water pretty strongly. We got a lot of opposition from the governor, and we opened it up anyway, and the water is coming down. That we want it opened further. They have a lot of water. They send it out into the Pacific Ocean in order to protect the smelt. It's a little tiny fish that's not doing very well, especially when they don't have water. They really do badly, okay? But it's a fish, environmentally protected, even though it's in many other areas. I think they just use that as an excuse to smelt. You'll check that out. But I think it's just an excuse. They've got to allow full water, and they're working with Lee Zeldin is really helping us a lot. But they've got to allow a full complement of water to come down from the Pacific Northwest. There is so much water. If Gavin Newsom let the water come down, see the way I pronounced his name properly for a change, if this guy allowed the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, they have so much water they don't know what to do with it. All of those sprinklers would have gone on. All of those people with those beautiful houses with sprinklers in the ceilings and with the water, the fire pumps outside, all that water, they didn't have any water because they wouldn't let the water come down. There's so much water there. At first, when I got involved with this issue in my first term, I said to the congressman, they took me up because they wanted to show me the fields where they could farm 10 times more product. You'd see 100 acres, and you'd see 1 acre or 2 acres, beautiful green. It's very vibrant soil, but they don't give it the water that it's entitled to. And I said, oh, they have a drought? I said, no, they told me we don't have a drought. They don't. The Democrats don't allow the water to come down into the farms and into anywhere. By the time it gets down even into certain parts of California, it's fed out stupidly into the Pacific Ocean. If that water were allowed, so we broke into it and we allowed it to come down, and it come down at a higher level, and we want that, and we're demanding that of the governor. The other thing is, we'll do anything necessary to keep the Olympics safe, including using our National Guard or military. Okay. No, I will use the National Guard or military. This is going to be so safe, and if we have to. because obviously you have a mayor that is not very competent. She can't get the permits for the people. You know, the people are still waiting for their permits. Lee Zeldin got them the federal permit, which is 10 times harder to get. And everybody can build on the federal basis, and that's the hard one. But the mayor, Bass, she refuses to or cannot get them permits. They're waiting. And I was there right after the fires, and I saw all these beautiful people standing by their homes, ready to get in and get to work. And they're waiting for their permits, and they're still waiting for their state permits and city permits. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
President Trump.
Redress, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
India says that the U.S. imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President,
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you seen the Hamas-released video of Israeli hostage Avitar David starving and being forced to dig his own grave in a Hamas tunnel?
I have, yeah. I have. I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible. And I hope a lot of people do get to see it, as bad as it is, because I think it's a horrible thing. Yeah, behind you, please.
Mr. President,
yes.
Can you speak to just how, this drop-off in foreign-born workers is going to benefit Americans, and will it force American companies to pay fairer wages to American workers?
Well, we want to take care of our American workers, and first and foremost, and that's what we're doing. We also want to help our farmers, because our farmers are producing like never before. We have to help them. And we're working out some very complicated strategies and language, but the main thing that I think I was elected to do is to get the illegals out of our country, who are especially in particular criminals. 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country with Biden's open border policy, with our border czar, who never spoke to the Border Patrol, never went to the border one time. That's Kamala. And think of it. We have murderers. We have people coming in from all countries all over the world, from prisons in the Congo and Africa, from prisons all over South America, all over rough parts of Europe, all over Asia. They're pouring into our country. Not anymore. So we just announced we had our third consecutive month where we were rated 0 people. And these are, frankly, very liberal people that make up these charts. So I don't know what's wrong with them. They seem to not be doing their job for the Democrats. But I'm honored by the fact that they say it. We're very tough on the border. And people can come into our country, but they have to come in legally. So I think that we've done an amazing job, actually. But we have to get the criminals out of our country, murderers, drug dealers, gang members. They emptied prisons into our country. It's one of the reasons, I think, even beyond the economy, it's one of the reasons I got elected. It's really maybe the number one. I was between the economy and that. But, as I said before, our nation is doing really well, but we have to get these really bad people. They should have never been allowed in our country. Open border policy is for fools. We're the only country in the world with an open borders policy, but we don't have that anymore. We had 0 now for 3 months in a row. Peter?
Thank you very much, President Trump. Nice to see you got off the roof all right.
Yeah.
You said this morning that you probably won't be running for a third term. This weekend, Secretary of State Rubio said that he thought J.D. Vance would be a great nominee. You could clear the entire Republican field right now. Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is J.D. Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with J.D. in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job, and he would be probably favored at this point.
And on Texas, if Texas redrawing their congressional map would get you 5 safe red seats, means that California, New York, Illinois, and Maryland are all going to redraw their maps to add safe.
Well, they'll do it anyway.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, they'll do it anyway. Why? If we stop over there, they would have done it anyway. Look, a lot of these states, I watched this morning as Democrats are complaining, and they're complaining from states where they've done it, like in Illinois, like in Massachusetts. I watched this lunatic, Pocahontas. She's a total lunatic. I don't know what she's on. She's all jumping up and down like I've never seen anything like it, talking about supporting the communist mayor. And he's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist man. This is a communist. If you look at any of his policies and go back 6 months, you don't even have to go back further than that. So they want to put a communist in New York. Now, the good news is we have a lot of power over that because we're the ones with the money. We send the money. We don't send the money. It's up to the White House, a lot of power in the White House. But when I watched her jumping up and down, talking about that and supporting the communists, but if you look at what's going on with the redistricting or whatever you want to call it, the Democrats have done it long before we started. They've done it all over the place. They did it in New York. They did it in a lot of different states. But in Massachusetts, so somebody used this as an example today. I was interviewed this morning, and they said, you know, it's pretty unfair. Trump got 40%. I'm not proud of that, but I think I probably got more, but that's okay. I got 40% in Massachusetts, and yet they have 100% of the vote in terms of Congress. So there's no Republican, there's no anything. So we should have 40%. You know why? They redistricted, and they've done it all over the place. And they've done it in California, by the way. Before this, they've done it in California. So we'll see what happens. We have a wonderful governor in Texas. He feels strongly about it. It's going to be up to him. I think there's tremendous support for it. And, you know, we've watched the Democrats destroy our country in 4 years. They've destroyed, between their open borders that we talked about, transgender for everybody, all of the horrible things that they've done, high taxes, horrible medical provision for people. We've watched them destroy our country for 4 years, and people don't want that. And people in Texas, as you saw, I got the highest vote in the history of Texas. I love Texas. Texas likes me, obviously. But I got the highest vote, and that was checked out on the show. Did you see that? Where they checked it out, they said he actually did get the highest vote in the history of Texas, which disappointed them. They were very disappointed to hear that. But Texas is a place that's done very well with a free enterprise kind of an attitude, with the exact opposite of what's happening in New York with a communist mayor. And they know what they're doing, and they're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Two questions for you. Mr. President, thank you. Texas Senator John Cornyn is asking for your help to force Democrats back to the state and hold them accountable. Do you want the federal government and the FBI to help locate and arrest these Texas Democrats who have left the state?
Well, I think they've abandoned the state. Nobody's seen anything like it, even though they've done it twice before. And in a certain way, it almost looks like they've abandoned the state. It looks very bad. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Should the FBI get involved? Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to. They may have to. No, I know they want him back. Not only the Attorney General, the governor wants him back. If you look, I mean, the governor of Texas is demanding they come back. So a lot of people are demanding they come back. You can't just sit it out. You have to go back. You have to fight it out. That's what elections are all about. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, President Trump. Two questions for you. One, were you aware of and did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
And do you believe that she is?
It's not a very uncommon thing.
Do you believe that she's credible to be listening to? Your Deputy Attorney General sat down with her recently.
Well, let me tell you, he's a very talented man. His name is Todd Blanche. He's a very legitimate person, very high, just a very highly thought of person, respected by everybody. And I didn't talk to him about it, but I will tell you that whatever he asked would be totally appropriate, and it's not an uncommon thing to do that. And I think he probably wants to make sure that, you know, people that should not be involved or aren't involved are not hurt by something that would be very, very unfortunate, very unfair to a lot of people. But I will say this, Todd Blanche is one of the most highly respected people you'll ever meet. So I know this. I didn't discuss it with him, but anything he talked about with her, or the fact that he did that, not unusual, number one, and most importantly is something that would be totally above board. Please. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. President, how much more would you like DOJ to cut from the federal government?
Well, it's not so much DOJ anymore. And by the way, I have to say that somebody from DOJ was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run. But it's not a question of DOJ. We have great people, secretaries and all, working with DOJ. and cutting with I said with a scalpel as opposed with an axe. They're cutting with a fine-tooth comb, and they're getting rid of people that aren't doing their job, or bad people, or bad things, bad policy, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we've been very successful in that. And there's more cutting to do, but there's also more getting. We want smart people in government. Our country is doing great. I think we are doing probably, maybe in many ways, better than we've ever done before. You know, we're taking in trillions, not billions, trillions and trillions of dollars from other countries who, for years, took advantage of us. They took advantage of the United States like we were children, and that's not happening anymore. Now they're paying a lot of money, and they're paying hundreds of billions of dollars. Individual countries paying hundreds of billions of dollars. You're seeing what everybody else is seeing. And we have a lot of things we can do. You know, one of the questions asked of me this morning is, are you going to make a dividend to the people? And the purpose of what I'm doing is primarily to pay down debt, which will happen in very large quantity. But I think there's also a possibility that we're taking in so much money that we may very well make a dividend to the people of America. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right. Thank you for tuning into the live show. We will be back. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be back, okay? It is your boy Genesis, and you are tuned into the Genesis Show. Your boy got to go, all right? Got to go be a daddy. And yeah, with that being said, God bless you. God bless the United States. The United States is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Without God, there would be nothing, okay? God is the greatest. So thank you guys for being here. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, join the memberships, support the channel. God bless you guys. I got to give a shout out to our esteemed members, Dr. Luke, the GOAT. God bless you, Dr. Luke, the GOAT. God bless you, Ellie. God bless you. Sandra, God bless you. Ingraham, God bless you. Ringmaster. And of course, our moderators, God bless you. Good Jeans, C. Shelley, God bless you. Terry Vinings, the Bama Girl, God bless you. Zyra's Garden, Z, God bless you. Anders, MVP Jet, God bless you. And of course, the Bucket Master, Mr. Busky, God bless you. All right, with that being said, it is your boy Genesis one more time. And shout out to law enforcement officers. Shout out to Ice Ice Baby. Shout out to the veterans. Shout out to first of all, without the veterans and the military members, there would be no homeland. So I got to give them a shout out. So shout out to the military one more time. And God bless you guys for tuning in. All right. We will be back. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bell. And of course, as you see in the chat, it is a free speech channel. You never get blocked except you're like, you know, out of this world. We love both parties, Democrat, Republican, because in here, it is country first, all right? You are an American before you are a Democrat or a Republican, so we love Americans. And with that being said, I gotta go. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.